All right, what is up, guys? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? In the video I'm bringing you today, I wanted to do a video on how to recreate a build from scratch. So I'm sure you guys have had it at any point in time to where you're browsing YouTube, you're sent a clip from your buddy or just some fun clip, and you want the build. This doesn't have to be a PvP related build. It could be PvE, it could be Overland PvE, trials, dungeons, whatever. This can apply to literally anything. The person's not sharing the build, they kind of want to keep it to themselves, or they're just not releasing it fully yet, but you still want an idea because you want it now and you want to run this. So how do you recreate a build just off of gameplay footage? That's what this video is going to be. I reached out to Devilspawn. Devilspawn is a player on PCNA. He's a very good stamina Dragon Knight. I've watched his YouTube videos in the past. I actually went back, like when he posted this video, I went back and I recreated it from scratch because I was curious. He's a good player. He looked like he was running a very fun build. I wanted to see what it was. A couple weeks later, he released the build and I was right. And so we're going to use all the information that he gives in a couple minutes of footage, and we're going to attempt to recreate Devilspawn's build. And so what we're going to do is we're going to watch the footage and we're going to look for different markers. We're going to look for different animations. Different sets have different proc animations. So either your arms glow or there's still some sort of specialty thing that happens. A lot of sets have these. And so we will know if he's running specific sets for that reason. If nothing procs, we know that he's not running any of those sets for that reason. And we're just slowly going to chip away at it. Once we add in a few different things, we'll be able to figure out some other things through the gameplay footage. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to watch this footage, we're going to look for different things, and we're going to remove some variables. The other thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to use the ESO build editor. Now, I love this website because it saved me a ton of gold. I am not affiliated with them or anything like that. You don't need to use the build editor. I'll provide a link in the description if you want to check it out, but we're going to use the build editor. As we get information, it has different racial passives, different, vampire, werewolf, attributes down here. We go to the next bar, we have different armor sets, and we can input stuff, and this will help us visually figure things out. If you haven't done a lot of this in the past, it helps to write it down. You can either use like a tablet, like a Word document if you so choose. Like if you're at work and you don't actually want to be doing work, you could do that. You could use a tablet, you could use a notepad, you could be old school, or you could stare up at the ceiling and look at the build editor up there like a certain chess TV show. You can do all sorts of things, but we're going to use the build editor here. It's going to be easier to visually show you what's going on. I put in all the different buffs. He's a good player. He's going to keep his buffs up. That's good to know. I put in 810 CP. We don't know what a CP is, but because CP gives stats, we want to make sure we have the CP that he has allocated so that we get the stats close to what he's running. So he's at 810 CP. I input all this beforehand. We can obviously adjust those as needed. So this is what we're going to use. We're going to use the ESO build editor. So the gist is we're going to put in the stuff that we know, and then we're going to watch his gameplay to try and figure out the stuff that we don't know. And when we don't know certain things, we will be using the Fextra Life Elder Scrolls Online wiki to figure out sets and remove variables. So you can go on here, and if he's got a lot of stamina recovery, you see his recovery shooting up, we can look up different sets that have high stamina recovery. If he has high weapon damage, we can do stuff like that. Stuff that is like an outlier: high weapon damage, high health, high resistances, high recoveries. Those sorts of things are going to matter. So if we see some things that are adding up, we can do searches and we can try and figure it out. And although there are hundreds of sets that exist in ESO, literally hundreds, we can narrow it down based off of the different things that he's giving. And now maybe we won't get it exactly right, but we'll narrow it down, and then that'll give us the options for us to go out and test ourselves. So we're going to look for animations, we're going to look for known markers of known gear sets, and then we're going to just figure the rest out. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to use these three tools. We're going to use the gameplay footage, ESO build editor, and a website listing all the different information. I will provide a link in the description to all of that for you guys to check out. Now, let's get on to the footage and watch some Devilspawn gameplay. All right, guys, so here's some footage of him outside of Ash. We're just going to watch some gameplay footage, look for some known markers. You see he activates an ultimate right away. His arms and his feet are glowing red. Now, I've done a video on this in the past. I know for a fact that he's running Balorg. This is the only set that gives that red animation upon activation of an ultimate. There are other sets that give you red animations, but not like that. So he's definitely running Balorg. Now the other thing is he's applying multiple dots. Look at the dots that are ticking on people. Look at the damage outgoing. he has no crit damage. There's no crit damage incoming at all. He's not had a single crit on anybody that he's attacked so far, which gives another variable. Is as long as we keep watching, we see he's not critting more and more. It's more and more likely that he's running Malakath. So we know he's running Malakath. We know he's running Balorg. We've watched maybe a minute worth of footage, and we've removed 2 different sets because he's not doing crit damage, and he's at when he activates an ultimate, Balorg is proccing. The other thing is when you look at his back bar, he's got the vampire toggle. So in order to have the vampire toggle, you need to be a vampire. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So we know 3 things now. We know that he's a vampire. We don't know if he's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Most people in PvP go stage 1 or stage 3. Stage 1 to have the skills, stage 3 for the undeath. He is tanky, so it could be either one. We're not sure yet. We'll just stick with stage 1 for now. But yeah, he very well could be stage 3. We're not sure in that regard. Let's input Balorg. Now, we don't know the weights, guys. We don't know what traits yet, anything like that. We're going to put in legendary because we want to have a legendary build. So we're going to have all gold gear and be really cool. It doesn't cost us anything to have gold gear. But yeah, we know he's running Balorg. Traits don't matter. Weights don't matter. We'll figure that out later. We just want to input it so we can visually see what's there and what's not there. And so now we have Balorg and Malakath in. We know for a fact that he's running these 2 things. Now, what's left? Well, we got 5 pieces on the body. And then we have a necklace, a ring, a 2-hander on the front. We saw he's running 2H and sword and board. A 2-hander in the front counts as a 2-piece. The back bar sword and board also counts as a 2-piece. He's got 4 pieces here. So 4 overall. So he's got the 2-piece. He's either running a 4-piece front and back, or he's running some sort of like 3-piece with 1-piece trainee, or he's running like a back bar 3-piece. So the 3-piece options are like agility, endurance, willpower, and then because he's running those, it's trainee. So he could be back barring a set like agility and endurance. He could be front barring a set like agility or endurance, and then running a specialty weapon. Those are the options. So 4-piece, 3-piece, and a 1-piece, or a back bar 3-piece with a specialty weapon. Okay, well, the thing that we know about specialty weapons is sword and board. One of the specialty weapons functions off of ransack. One of them functions off of reverb. The other one's off of shield charge, and the other one is off of heroic slash. So all of the different sword and board weapons function off of sword and board skills. On his sword and board bar, he has none of those skills. So we can completely eliminate the fact that he is running a specialty sword and board on the back bar. We've eliminated them because they need to have a skill equipped in order to fire. He doesn't have a sword and board skill equipped on the back bar, so that eliminates another variable. So now what we have is he could be back barring a 3-piece and front barring a specialty weapon, or it's a 3-piece and a 1-piece trainee. We're not sure yet, but we can start doing some other deductions here. The 2-piece specialty weapons, the VMA 2H, the Vadishrans 2H, we're going to continue watching some footage here, but all those weapons have different skills that are attached to them. The Vadishrans 2H glows orangish, and it has a very distinct animation when you're running the Vadishran weapon. He is not proccing Vadishrans on this build. We can rule out the Vadishrans 2H as a possibility, so he's not running that. The VMA 2H functions off of crit rush. He's not running crit rush. He doesn't have crit rush on his bar. We can rule that one out. He's not running the Masters 2H because the Masters 2H functions off of cleave, so we can rule that one out. The only options that are available are the Dizzying Swing BRP 2H that gives you damage to one person and the neighboring person, or the Asylum 2H. So he could be back barring a set and then front barring 2 of those specialty weapons. We'll have to keep an eye on his ulti-gen as he hits executes. Those are both possibilities, but the other ones we've ruled out. So it's seemingly likely that he's running a 3-piece of something, either double barred or back barred, with a front bar either Asylum or the BRP 2H. And you don't really see the BRP 2H because it's not very good, but it's something to keep in mind. Now, what else do we see in this footage? Well, he's very tanky. He's taking a lot of incoming damage, and he's dishing out a lot of damage. You see he's got the Vampire Toggle, he's got Malakath, he's got Balorg, but he's also very tanky. So we know that the other sets that he's running are probably adding to bulk, like resistances, You can be tanky in multiple different ways, but it's probably a defensive set. So we can remove some offensive sets. You see he's got 2,600 weapon damage. It's not high weapon damage, but tanky, lower weapon damage, high durability. He's probably running heavy armor. He's probably got heavy armor on this. You see he's got low stamina recovery. Very, very low stamina recovery. Really relying on heavy attacks and his ulti-gen to gain resources. So that's another cue that he's probably running heavy. Not 100% guaranteed, but that's where we'd start. We can remove those variables. And right there, he took a CC and he was stam locked on the ground, and you just saw his health shooting up. His health was just shooting up as he's on the ground, unable to heal himself or activate any abilities. It's not just resistances. So I think we can kind of rule out that he's running a resistance set like Pariah. That's one of the first things I thought when I saw this. It's like, oh, he could be running like stage 3 on death with Pariah and be just a really tanky boy. But that one little instance where he was stun locked on the ground, you saw his health going up. It's 2 possible options in my opinion. Here's another one. See his health just shooting up. He's running either something that's giving him health, like a battalion defender style set, or Cyrodiil's Crest that gives you health when you're blocking. He was getting it without blocking, so that removes Cyrodiil's Crest. But he's getting some sort of set like that, or he's running something with like health recovery or higher healing. And so it looks like he's got a pretty substantial amount of health recovery. He's got no stamina and magic recovery, very little, if any, really relying on heavy attacks. And now we can kind of see stuff that he's running. We can kind of see that the functionality of his build is a lot of healing and a lot of just passive healing that's just coming in all the time. His health bar is shooting up, whether or not he's using Vigor, Cauterize, or Rally. So even when those aren't up, you see his health bar shooting up. And so that's something to keep in mind, that he's got something that's giving him some form of health return while he's playing. So that's something to keep in mind. That's going to narrow down a bunch of sets. Now, what he also does in this is he's going to show his character sheet here shortly. And anytime you can see a character sheet, you can really take advantage of a situation and input some things. Now, this build is actually a lot harder to put together because it's not stats, or because it's not procs. Like if he was running other proc-based sets like Sheer Venom or Venomous Smite, or if he had Savara's on, we'd be able to tell. If he had Clever Alchemist, we'd be able to tell. Those sorts of sets have very specific animations, Daedric Trickery, that we would know that he was running those things, and because he's not, it's eliminating them. It makes it a little bit harder to do on this specific build, but because he shows the character sheet, we now have a ton of information. We have a ton of information that we can figure out now, and we can input this, and now we can put this into the build editor and figure out what he's running even more. So what information is he giving us? Well, number one, he's an orc. He's an orc Dragon Knight. We already knew he was a Dragon Knight, but he's an orc. We have that. No Mundus yet. 64 points into stamina. So an orc with 64 points, we now have those 2 data points that we can put in. What else do we have? 16.8k Magicka, 36k health, 30k stamina on the sword and board bar, 509 magic recovery, very low magic recovery, 869 stamina recovery, and 4684 health recovery, guys. So we were right about the healing thing. He's not running Battalion Defender because that's just a health return. He's running very high health recovery. And now keep in mind, he's a vampire. He's a vampire with high health recovery, which removes the possibility of him running something like stage 3, because the higher your stages in vampire goes, the less your health recovery is. So more than likely, he's a stage 1 vampire using the toggle for more weapon damage. He's still got a ton of health recovery, which means that his main 5-piece has to have a ton of health recovery in it. So we can use this regardless of the character sheet. If he's got really high health, if he's got some sort of outlier thing, we can input it into the build editor, or we can do a search for armor sets and find things that could fit. This 4684 is a huge standout for things that we want to see. Other things to look at: 35,440 spell resist, 35k physical resist, 2825 critical resist. So he's got pretty high resistances, really high health recovery, high health, good stamina. Those are things just to kind of keep in mind. Very low magicka and stamina recovery. So those are the things to keep in mind when we're looking at this character sheet. And then that way we can reduce other options on the build. So when we go back over to the editor here, guys, and we start inputting things, you see that I have 514 magic recovery with nothing equipped. I have no magic recovery equipped on my non-character here, and I'm at stock. This is base recovery. So that means that whatever sets we choose cannot have a line of magic recovery on it. Whatever food or weapons or gear we choose cannot have magic recovery. If it does, it doesn't work. It's not the right set. We also have 1167 stamina recovery, which is a lot higher than his 860. You see we have an enchant of stamina recovery, and so we're going to change that. We're going to change it to physical damage because he's probably running weapon damage. We don't know for sure, but we know that it's not recovery. And you see when we change off the recovery, we go down to 878, which is close to where he's at. Now, obviously, we can make some adjustments in our CP and get to the exact numbers. The differences here, the minor differences, is the difference in CP. So that's not a big deal. We can adjust our CP to get the exact numbers if we so choose to, but we're close enough. The main things to take from here, off of these two things, is none of the sets can have magicka or stamina recovery as bonuses. The 2, 3, 4, or 5 piece cannot have magic or stamina recovery, or else it throws it off. Even one enchant gives us 300 more recovery than what he currently has. So that's something to keep in mind when we're looking at different sets. So we want something with high health recovery, we want something with high resistances, something with high health without any stamina or magic or recovery. So now let's go and look. We're gonna go into the editor. Like I said, he was very bulky, he was very sturdy, so I'm going to guess that he's heavy armor. He might not be. There's a good, I mean, it's no guarantee that he is, but more than likely he's probably in heavy to get the resistances and health recovery that he has. He was using a lot of heavy attacks, so more than likely this is where we're at. So we're gonna try these sets first. The more Occam's razor, the first assumption is the most likely. Like that's where we're kind of at here. Alessian order. Armor, max health, health recovery, increase your health recovery by 2% of your sum of total physical and spell resistance. Well, we don't know how much that is. We don't know how much health recovery that Alessian order is giving us, but it's got everything we want, and it's got nothing that we don't want. So that's a pretty good option. So we can put Alessian order as something we're going to input as our 5 piece, because it's giving us health recovery, giving us resistances, and it's giving us max health, all the things that we need. So we'll keep scrolling through. We're going to need a lot of health recovery, so we're going to look for stuff with health recovery. Beekeeper, max health, 900 health recovery. That's a lot. Beekeeper could be an option. He's got 36k health. He could be getting health from this. Maybe with heavy armor, with a lot of heavy armor, we could get our resistances high enough to where he has his, and this health recovery will get us there. So Beekeeper is an option. It's definitely an option to consider. So now we have 2 sets we can look at for the 5 piece. Durox is reducing health recovery, so that's not an option. Eternal Vigor. Magic recovery, stamina recovery, health recovery, max health. Adds 337 stamina and magic recovery while your health is above 50%. Adds 1,000 health recovery while your health is 50% or less. It's given a lot of health recovery, guys. He does have a lot of health recovery. This could be a possibility. Except, we already said that anything that gives magic and stamina recovery is a non-option. Because the 2 and 3 piece gives magic and stamina recovery, he is not running Eternal Vigor. We can strike it from the list. Even though it gives it a lot of health recovery, these 2 are clear-cut indicators that he is not running the set. On to the next one. Green Pact. Health recovery, max health. While you have a food buff active, your max health is increased by 2,500 and health recovery by 356. Okay, so this is more health than Beekeeper, but less health recovery. So if we input Beekeeper into the editor and we find out we need more health and less health recovery, we know that it's Green Pact. If we find that we need more resistances and less health than Beekeeper, we can use Alessian. So those are going to be the kind of indicators. We're gonna. This looks like an option. It has everything that we need with nothing that we don't. So we're gonna keep an eye on Green Pact. We now have 3 different gear sets we can input into our character sheet. Health recovery. Keep scrolling. Permafrost. Max health, max magicka, magic recovery. While you have a damage shield on you, your health recovery is increased by 1106. That's a lot of health recovery. But the problem, once again, is the 4 pieces magic recovery. We don't have magic recovery, so it's a non-option. He's not running Permafrost. And then finally, 7th Legion Brute. Weapon damage, health recovery, weapon crit. When you cast an ability that increases your physical or spell resistance, you gain 341 weapon damage and 341 health recovery for 15 seconds. This effect can occur every 15 seconds. Okay, we got health recovery. It also gives us weapon damage. He was hitting hard. However, I know 7th Legion Brute, when you activate that set, your arms glow red. And so when you activate your armor buff, your arms glow red. We did get the hand buff from Balorg, but we never got an armor buff, another red glow from activating a defensive, the armor buff skill. So we can rule out the fact that he's not running 7th Legion. We know that. And so now we're going to quickly scroll through the rest of the sets. And so out of all of the heavy armor sets, out of all the sets that could possibly exist for this build, we've narrowed it down to 3 options so far. We don't know which one it is yet. So we're gonna have to input and try and test different things out. But he's got Green Pact, he's got Beekeeper, and we have Alessian. Now, what I like to do when I don't know, and I'm gonna pretend like I don't know what Alessian gives because we're gonna pretend we're newer to this and we don't really know. I like to intersect or bisect the middle. And so if we have 3 sets, I like to choose the middle option first. And so I'll input the middle option. And if I find I need more of something or more of something else, I know that I can choose another option. So I'm going to go with Beekeeper, because if I put in Beekeeper and it gives me way more health recovery but less health, I know that I go to Green Pact, because Green Pact is giving me less health recovery and more health than Beekeeper. If I find that I need less health than Beekeeper and more resistances, I can go to Alessian. So I'm going to input those 2 things, and those variables will allow me to mix and match and whatever. That's just what I like to do. You can choose whichever one you want. You can put in all 3 and you can see which one gets you closest. It doesn't matter, but that's what we're going to do here. We're going to start with Beekeeper. And so we're going to see what that gives us. And now we don't know what traits we are or anything like that. We're just going to input the gear. We'll get closer. We're just trying to figure out the gear right now. We'll figure out traits later. We were given an abundance of information with a character sheet, so we can try and figure that out. And so we have that. The other thing we know, guys, is we also know the food. Because we know that the food doesn't give us recoveries, we know he's not running something like Artaeum. We know that he's running probably a dual stat or tri-stat food that also gives health recovery. Well, one of the best ones right now is Bewitched. We don't know for sure if it's Bewitched Sugar Skulls, but it could be, and it could give us the health, the health recovery will come in handy. He's stacking a ton of it, so that's going to be a good start. So with Beekeeper and its 900 health recovery, and with Bewitched Sugar Skulls, without the other sets, you see we're at 35k health. You see we're at 15k stam. That's wrong. We already know that he's an orc. We already know that from the character sheet that he has 64 points in his stamina. We know those things, and we know that he's probably a stage 1 vampire. So we got to input those things. So we input those real quick. That was my mistake. We're back to where we have to be. A little bit less health right now, a little bit less stamina than what he has. 2100 less health recovery though. We have 21 less health recovery than him. Our magic and stamina recovery are rights because we didn't add any sets that gave us that, which is good. Our resistances are very, very low. So the first thing I see is our next set has to have health recovery. We have to have more health recovery to get remotely close. So this is going to rule out the 4-piece options, because the 4-piece options, we need 21 and more. We need 2,000 more health recovery. So we need something that gives us a lot. We need more health. We need more health recovery. So there's a 3-piece set out there that exists that gives us health for the 2-piece, and it gives us a ton of health recovery, more than 4-piece bonuses do, which is endurance. I already knew that this set existed. If you didn't, you could look stuff up like this, but this is going to give us more health recovery than a 4-piece. Like if there was a 4-piece set that existed that gave health 129, health recovery, this would give us more than even a 4-piece. So it looks like he's probably running endurance. Let's input it in and just see if that's what the case is, because yeah, we need 2,000 more. We're gonna put it as robust. Now we don't know what his front bar weapon is. I'm gonna put it as a maul, like a sharpened maul for now, because I like to run sharpened mauls. Like I said, we don't know if he's running the 2H, the Asylum 2H, or an Endurance 2H, or a BRP 2H. All those are still possibilities. We're just gonna input this for now, just so we have the set on there. We will also put a sword board on the back bar. Doesn't matter what traits yet. We're just trying to see if this is going to get us close to where we need to be. Sorry about that. We're gonna go down, we're gonna put in a shield. There we go. We were on the back bar when we saw the character sheet. We're at 3804 health recovery. So we jumped up a lot. We went from 25 to 38. This gave us 1300. We're getting a lot closer. So it looks like endurance is the play because we're still short 800 health recovery, and there's no other set besides endurance that gives us this much. So he's got to be running endurance for the set. We've ruled those sorts of things out, which leaves trainee. So he's probably running one-piece trainee. The only thing that we don't know is what this front bar is. We don't know the traits or anything, but this is getting a lot closer. Now, we're not done, guys. We don't have a Mundus Stone in, but we do have 3,800 health recovery. Let's try the Steed. The Steed gives us health recovery. So now we're getting really close. We got 41k health. We have 5k more health than he does. We have 500 less stamina. We're getting close in health recovery. We're about 400 off in that department. But the biggest things is, well, actually our stamina recovery is not right, so we got to change some. We got a recovery enchant here. So let's change this to physical harm, just so we can increase our weapon damage. We're going to change this too, but we can make these adjustments as needed. So we got weapon damage here. We lowered our overall stamina and magic recovery. Our health recovery is at 4,000. Now, we could adjust this. We could change some enchants. We could change some enchants to health recovery. We could do that, and that could get us the health recovery that we need. But the big thing that I'm seeing, guys, the difference is we can obviously adjust our health. We could adjust our health. We could adjust our gear around to get to like 36k health, 30k stamina, those sorts of things. We could change our different traits. We could probably get the stats pretty close in this department. Where the big difference though is the resistances. We can get everything else right, but the resistances aren't even close. We're 10k off on physical. We're 8k off on spell resist. And so with this, when we're looking at it, we need something a set that gives us less health recovery, and more resistances, which when we talked about before, looks like we might want to try Alessian. Now, we don't know what the 2% Alessian bonus is going to give us as far as health recovery. It could be more, it could be less. We don't know. We might as well put it in. And if we input Alessian, and Alessian gives us less health recovery than Beekeeper, it's more than likely that it is Beekeeper and he's messing with some other things. And so we're going to eliminate some variables here. We're going to look at this because this looks like it might be a better option. And as we put this in, we get more health recovery. We're up to 4,300 now. We're at 4,300 health recovery. We're only 350 health recovery off, and we have way closer resistances. We're only 2k off on health. We're only 500 off on stamina. This is a lot closer than what Beekeeper was. This is a lot closer. Everything's a lot closer than what Beekeeper was. So this looks to me like it's a little bit better of an option. So let's start tweaking some things. We're pretty close. We're pretty close, but we can get better. We can min-max this now, guys, because I think this is looking pretty close to right. We have 4,300 recovery. Now, keep in mind, guys, Alessian increases your health recovery by 2% of your sum of total physical and spell resistance. So the more resistances you have, the more health recovery you get. So maybe he has a different Mundus. Maybe he's not running the Steed for health recovery. Maybe he's running the Lady for resistances, which will also boost our health recovery. Now, we input the Lady, and we see that we have 30k physical, 33k spell. We have 4,100 health recovery. We went in the wrong direction for health recovery. We don't have enough resistances, but we also got a little bit less recovery. So let's keep putting in resistances on the bar and just see if that's what's going to do it. So we can change our 2H, or our one hand and shield, because this is what he was on the back bar. We can put defending on here. From sturdy, we can change it to reinforced. Let's see if this makes any adjustments. 35k spell, 31.7, 4,200 health recovery. Okay, so we're getting closer. What else do we have on the character sheet? Well, if you go down and you look, we got our resistances. We have our magic and stamina recovery close to the same. We're getting closer on the resistances, but look at our critical resist. He has 2825 critical resist. We have 3222, which means that all the impen that we have on this gear is probably wrong. He probably doesn't have some impen. He probably has some reinforced, because that'll give us some armor, that'll give us some more health recovery, and that'll give us less critical resist. So let's put reinforced on the big pieces and see if that gets us where we need to get. Now we're a lot closer. 4278 health recovery, 36k spell, 33k physical, getting a lot closer. Obviously we can adjust some enchants. He has 2968. in pen still, so we're going to change one more. 2841. There we go. 4,300 health recovery. So we're still a little low on health recovery, guys. We're still a little low in the health recovery department. Still a little bit low in the physical resist department. But we're getting there. We're getting really close. This looks really close to what he's running. Well, obviously some adjustments are in the CP tree. We could min-max some resistances there and get it really close. But we're not going to. We don't have to do all of that yet because we can see that we need a little bit more health recovery. And we're running a 511. And so most people run 511, but the way he has his character built, he doesn't have any recovery. The more heavy armor you have, the more resistances you have. The more resists you have in this build, the more health recovery you have. So we need more resists and we need more health recovery. So we're gonna try Balorg with heavy. So we're going to switch the Balorg weight to heavy. We have what we think is the right trait. We don't know for sure, but now we jumped up to 4902. It also gives us more health, which gives us a little bit more wiggle room there. So now we're at 4512 health recovery. We need a little bit more. Let's try and change this and get this to heavy. All right, there we go. All right, so now we're at 4704 health recovery. He's at 4684. We are 30 off on health recovery. Now, we need to adjust our health and our stamina, but we'll get back to that in a minute. We have 514 magic recovery, which is almost spot on. Our stamina recovery is almost spot on. Our resistances, our spell resistance is a little high. But we are at the right, we're close, like, we can make some adjustments here is what I'm trying to say. So maybe he's not running, maybe he's running a different, maybe he's not running the Lady Mundus. Maybe he's running like the Lover Mundus for extra pen, and he's adjusting he's running potions that are giving him resistances. There are potions out there that give you health, stam, and physical resist. So maybe what's happening here is he's got 35k spell and he's got like 30k physical, but when he pops his pot, it jumps him up to 35k physical also. So we don't have to input that in. We just know that he could be running armor pots. If he's not running armor pots, he's running something like this, but that will get us pretty close to the resistances there. So we're not exactly right, but we're pretty close. We're pretty close in all these departments. But we see we have more health. We have 3k more health. We have 2k less stamina. He's running robust, so let's switch this to infused. Let's switch all these to infused because we don't know for sure. He could be running bloodthirsty, but we don't know. We got our 64 points in the stamina, 39.5 health, 26k stam, which means he's probably running prismatics on his enchants. So we want to lower our health and increase our stamina. Prismatic enchants will give us that value. And so we know he's got 64 points in the health, so we know, or 64 points in the stamina, sorry. So we know prismatics are probably how he's lowering his health here instead of like making those other adjustments. So you see we're slowly getting down lower and lower. 36.8. Now we're on the Sorin board. He's got a health enchant here. Let's change this to prismatic also and see if that does it. We're really close. We're at 36.2 and he's at 28.9 stam, which means that he's probably got a couple stam enchants on the smaller pieces. Just a very small amount more stamina, a little bit less health. There we go. All right. So this is pretty close. Now I'm not saying it's perfect because it's not. But when we're looking at it, this is what you do. You just make slow and incremental changes. Now, obviously, we don't have the exact same CP. We're not using the exact same potions, but we're 30 minutes into the video. You kind of see like we've figured out the gear. We've definitely figured out the gear. Our health is almost exactly on. Our stamina is almost exactly on. Health recovery is 30 off. Magic and stamina recovery is almost exact. Resistances are a little high, which leads me, like I said, to believe that he's probably running a resistance potion. And so I would take off the lady and I would switch that. But you do all these little incremental changes, you're going to get almost the exact same numbers. And we're almost there already. We're almost there already. We got a tanky, thick boy. That's a stage 4 vampire, or stage 1 vampire with 4,700 health recovery, 2683 weapon damage. He's got 3327. So it looks like we got the build. So all that information that was given in the 3 to 4 minutes of gameplay footage, we were able to figure out pretty close to what he was running. Now, obviously we don't know what weapons, we don't know what 2H he's running on the front bar. We could watch a little bit further, we could figure that out. We could look at the potions, we could figure that out also. But yeah, I don't think the buffs in this, I don't think there's armor buffs in this thing, but it looks like he's not running the lady. So I would take the lady off. He's definitely not running recovery. Maybe he's running with warrior. Maybe he's got weapon damage here, and that's why his weapon damage is higher. There we go. So 2933 weapon damage on the back bar. That could be possible. And so now we have 36k spell, we have 33k physical, and then he's running in like an armor potion for that increased recovery. That's possible. So there's a few different things we can tweak. There's a few different things we can figure out. Some passives that could be activated with the different skills that he has, but we're pretty close. And we can tell that it's not Beekeeper because we couldn't get our resists remotely close to this. We could tell that it wasn't going to be Green Pact because our health recovery wouldn't have gotten close to where we need. It's definitely Alessian. It's definitely Endurance. It's definitely Malakath. It's definitely Balorg. And we figured all that out by watching 3 to 4 minutes of video footage, and we saw a character sheet. So yeah, this is how you reverse engineer a build. If, like I said before, if you go back and you look at different builds, most of them have some sort of proc animation. Some of them, most sets have a proc animation. Most reverse engineered builds will be a lot easier to do than this one. This is actually one of the harder ones, but he showed the character sheet, which allowed us to min-max it a little bit quicker. But yeah, that's going to be in this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide it in the section below. I will do my best to answer it. If you guys liked this video and you want to see it as a series to where we can, you know, if you want to keep learning on how to do these things, we can make it a series. And you guys can send me gameplay footage and I can go back and I can try and see if I was right, try and figure it out. And you can give me the right answer and we can see where we're wrong and we can kind of figure out that stuff along the way. Just a fun thing, little fun thing to do when you're trying to figure out builds. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.